This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by State Farm Insurance.
The dress, the cake, the flowers, the invitations, a wedding is certainly a time to celebrate, but for the person picking up the bill, it can certainly put a hurting on the wallet.
Yeah, add it all up, including the honeymoon, and the average wedding costs almost $30,000. In today's Angie's List report, how to pull off your big day without breaking the bank.
Brian Bloom and Jill Zook are preparing for one of the biggest days of their lives. They're getting married in November.
He works in web design. I'm an elementary teacher, so he's got like the graphic design part of it. I've kind of got the crafty side of it, so it's ended up being a very kind of artistic wedding. Some very unique design elements, things that probably our guests have never seen before.
Brian and Jill have certainly seen their share of weddings, so they have a good idea of how they want theirs to play out.
I think I've been to enough weddings and seen enough of brides literally running around in their wedding dress, freaking out, directing traffic an hour before their wedding, and I didn't want that.
Brian and Jill will have enlisted the help of a wedding planner to sweat the small stuff and help them stay on budget.
We've got a mortgage, we have student loans, so staying on budget is very important to us. And we've kind of had to get creative with how to do that, but we're making it work.
While we want a nice wedding, we also want a nice life, so kind of just finding that middle ground.
There are plenty of decisions that need to be made. All of them can impact your budget. One of the most important, the date.
The ways that they can save money is basically using maybe a Friday or a Sunday as their wedding day. The venues typically charge less on those particular days. They can cut back on their guest list. Each guest that they invite is going to have a dollar amount associated with them. So if they can cut back on that, that's a big help. And then sometimes just even having a smaller bridal party, that can help them also.
Another way to cut cost, Angie Hicks, founder of Angie's List, says pick flowers that are in season with your wedding. When it comes to wedding favors, Angie says they're not really necessary and in most cases are tossed out at the end of the night. Somebody who can help you with all of these decisions is a wedding planner. Angie says wedding planners can help find vendors to meet your price point, negotiate discounts, and provide money-saving advice. Most start at about $1,000.
A wedding planner might actually make sense, especially if you're not finding yourself to be highly organized, because it's really important. It's a big event. Also, a wedding planner can come in handy when you're reading through contracts. They might actually end up saving you money because they know how these contracts are supposed to read, and they might catch things you could miss.
And those contracts are important, especially because there are so many players involved when planning a wedding. Angie says you should never ignore the fine print on contracts.
We've heard instances of consumers being asked to give up their right to talk about their experiences when they're signing vendor contracts. If you see a request like that in a contract, walk away from that vendor. It really calls into question how much you can trust them.
When it comes to hiring a wedding planner, Angie says consider hiring one at least 9 months to a year before the big day.
Most of them, we're working with them a year along the process. So that's somebody they have to feel comfortable with, and I always tell my brides that's the first thing. You know, if you feel comfortable with me, then we'll be okay and we're a match.
Your wedding planner will probably meet with you at crucial points throughout the planning process, such as for purchase and approval times. Angie says a good wedding planner will confirm that all vendors are ready for the day and will handle any surprises so you can focus on the big day.
You're trusting somebody with one of the biggest days of your life, and to know that we can trust her, it's a good feeling.
A couple of other cost-effective ways to save on your wedding. Angie says consider holding your wedding at a venue that has chairs, tables, silverware, and table linens. If you rent a space and have to bring in everything, it can add up quickly. If you're feeding your guests, Angie says opt for one main entree rather than multiple choices. Also, a plated meal is usually less expensive than a buffet. Angie says providing beer kegs can also be more cost-effective than individual bottles. And finally, the cake. Angie says iced styrofoam imposters can look great and save money when guests are served less pricier slices out of the reception hall kitchen. Also, cupcakes are a popular option and can be arranged in towers.
I could go with cupcakes.
You like cupcakes?
That would be good. So once the I-dos are done and you're home from the honeymoon, then what? oh, you still have plenty of work to do.
And joining us today to run down the list is State Farm insurance agent Megan Nabholitik of Cambridge. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
And how fitting, you recently got married.
Yes, June of last year.
Oh, well,
So,
congratulations.
still a newlywed.
Still a newlywed. That's wonderful. Well, before we get into the insurance part of it, you said there's one thing that you should do when it comes paying for the big day.
Definitely, I would advise using a credit card.
Why is that?
You're paying for things in advance so far, probably a year or so in advance. So having a credit card to keep track, and especially if you're on a budget, using that credit card can keep you on budget. And also, if you have any disputes later, that credit card company will back you up. Whereas if you had paid with cash or a check, you don't have that backup.
Didn't think about that. Okay.
Yeah.
So once the brides have got their bling, and I guess the grooms as well, you should protect it.
Insure your bling.
Yeah.
Insure your bling. Sometimes newlyweds may or may not have a homeowner's insurance policy. They may not have their home yet, or renter's insurance. There is limited coverage for jewelry on a homeowner's policy, but there's also a personal articles policy available. So you can insure your jewelry, your rings, the wedding bands as well, and on a scheduled policy. And what that means is you can schedule it, you can list the items each individually with the cost, the value, and then insure them. There's no deductible, and they're insured at value, and also gives you an all-risk coverage, which means on a homeowner's policy, they're covered for named perils, fire, lightning, theft, vandalism, that type of thing. Whereas on a scheduled policy, it's all risk. You look down, there's a stone missing, that's covered. And if you actually lose it, I know some men may actually lose their bands. Sorry, Jimmy. And that's covered. Whereas on a homeowner's policy, that's actually not a covered peril.
Yeah, the irony of it is I lost my engagement.
Oh no! So yeah, so if it was on a scheduled policy, that would have been covered.
So beyond the coverage, you should also get it appraised.
Yes, definitely have an appraisal. Appraisals we want within 2 to 5 years, and then you want to renew those appraisals. So you want to have a appraisal renewed probably every 5 years or so, just because of the cost of gold changes, that type of thing. So you want to have that updated.
Okay.
So, and then on that personal articles policy too, you can also add other items to it. So it doesn't just have to be jewelry. So if you have any laptops, cameras, anything of value, collectibles, you can also add to that personal articles policy. Anything that you want to schedule that has a named value, you can put on that.
Okay, so you've got two lives here that are combining into one. What does this do for their auto insurance, their home insurance? What happens there?
Oh, well, you definitely have some discounts that are available. Of course, you have 2 cars, so you'll get a multi-car discount if you bring them to the same company.
Okay.
And then, of course, if you have a homeowner's policy, you're going to bring the homeowners with the car. You have a multi-line discount that's then available. And sometimes that discount can be up to 30%.
Wow.
So you want to talk to your agent about that.
Now, age has a bearing on your insurance. I guess men who are under 30.
Men that are under 30 and they get married do get a discount, an additional
about that?
discount. Yeah, so up to age 30, men are usually charged a little bit more for their rates. But insurance companies considered a male that it gets married under the age of 30 or has a child to be responsible. And we do give them a discount on their insurance.
Wow.
So yeah, definitely.
What about life insurance? Should newlyweds consider life insurance?
Definitely. Definitely. You now have 2 people that are now reliable on each other's income. You have a household. You're probably starting a family. Definitely need life insurance.
What kind of things can that cover?
Oh, it can cover income replacement, paying off debts, financing education, settling estate taxes, contributing to charities. Life insurance can cover a bunch of things. So, you know, you just creating inheritance, replacing income, definitely what I just mentioned, employer benefits, and then you definitely want to check with your employers because you have your beneficiaries. You want to update your beneficiaries. Now you've gotten married, you know, who are your beneficiaries? So you want to check with your employer on that, and you also want to check with your employer on other your health insurance benefits check with each other's employers, get the best benefits. Who's going to offer the best benefits?
Ask questions.
Ask questions, definitely, and
Thank
go
you
to
so
your
much.
insurance agent.
Wonderful having you in today.
Thank
And
you.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
congratulations. And to read more from State Farm Insurance about what to consider when tying the knot, go to delmarvalife.com and click on the show tab. So now you know how to save. How well are your solving skills?
Well, we're going to put them to the test. We've got the clues. You have to try to guess what our next segment is all about. That's next.
We can't put your brain to work without a little food for fuel. A little later, we're in the kitchen making a portobello mushroom dish that's simply delish.
Yeah. And you may not know his face, but you certainly know his food. Olive Garden's executive chef joins us to help us make the most out of our Italian dishes. Delmarva Life. We'll be right back.